All right. Good afternoon, everyone, or it's good morning on your time. This is Jason speaking. So now let's start our training in the third day for the SuperMapJS contest development group. Okay, let me share my screen. And we can take a look at our training schedule. On the first 2 days, we already achieved the function of download supermap products and publish the service. And also we show the data and online base map on web browser. And we achieved some toolbar functions like distance measurement, area measurement, and full extent. So today, our topic will related to the query. We need to achieve three query related functions. The first one is click to query attributes. And the second one is query the land use area by type. And then we need to achieve a search function, which is input the keywords to query the building, to search the buildings. Okay, so the first step is we need to start up our iServer. And also we need to open our code earlier. Okay, so this is our earlier code, the HTML file and the toolbar.js. Let me check my server. And also we can take a look at our day 3 step document. So after we start our iServer, the first step we need to do, of course, we need to add the button of query attributes. We need to add the button and to show as a query icon. And when we click it, we can draw a point, and then we need to, based on the drawn point, to do the query for a building. And for this one, we can for this function we can refer to the sample code of iClient, which is geometry query here. And in this demo, we can see that is based on a polygon, which is based on the polygon in the red color to query the point inside of it. But our task today is we need to based on a point to query the polygon. Okay, so we can see the server already started, and go back to our code, run it. This is our HTML. This is our homepage, and we already achieved these 4 buttons. And now the first step is to add a new one. Okay, so for adding a new icon in the toolbar, I think it's not hard for us now. We just need to put a new button like this to the HTML. Okay, so we can go back to we can refer to the code here and copy the code, put it here. And then we can see here we use the hand up icon to show the query function. And then and also the ID of this button is click query, and the function is click query. Okay. When we save it and go back to our code, we can see and I think we better put it earlier than Sorry, let me check why this one didn't show. Oh yeah, this one now is correct. Okay, and now we can say there is already one button for click, and but when we click it, there will be an error which is click query. Click query is not a function because we didn't define it here. And the second step is and the second step is we need to achieve the spatial query function when click. But before we start to achieve the click query function, we need to define some draw interaction first. Because earlier in our earlier code, we already defined the draw line and draw polygon. Draw line is for measure the distance, and the draw polygon is for measure the area. But this time we need to draw a point and then get the coordinates of this point or get the geometry of this point. Then based on the geometry to do the spatial query from server side. Okay, so first we need to define the draw point and also put it in the and also put it in the vector layer like this. And this we can say we use another layer to show this point because this layer no need to be saved. Every time when we finish the drawing point, we need to clear the point directly. Okay, and then we need to achieve the click query function. Okay, and now we can see here I put the function click query, and in the click query, first we need to define the draw point, and the draw point, the type is point, and the source. Oh, sorry, for the draw point we also draw it in the draw layer. We use the source of draw layer source. And this result layer is for showing the result of building. That was my mistake. So the first we need to define the draw point, and the source means which layer we want to draw, and we draw it in the draw layer, and the type we use point. And then we need to add this interaction draw point to the map. And next is we need to define the draw end function. We need to define the draw end function before after we draw the point. And this draw we only need to draw one time, so we just do the draw end. But if we need to use multi-draw, like sometimes if we want to achieve other function and based on the drawing, we need to draw multiple points, then you can refer to the API of OpenLayers to get more clear idea. And then what we need to achieve is to achieve the query by geometry. And this sentence is a query service. And query by geometry. First, the first parameter is the class of supermap.query by geometry parameters. And inside of it, we need to set which layer we want to query, And for getting this name, we can go back to our iServer page, which is localhost 1890. And then in the service, In the services, we go to the map cadastral workspace, this one, and we find our map, which is cadastral map. Inside of this map, there is a layers. There is a layers. We can go to the layers and also click our map name. We can find that there are 3 layers inside of this map. And what we want to query is based on the building. And we can say there are 2 building map. The first one is the building, and the second one is building at cadastral data point 1. The point 1 is the thematic map, thematic layer we created. So this time we can query based on these 2, whether both of these 2 can work well. And then we click inside of it, and we can copy this name. This is the name of layer, and the structure of name is the layer name at the map name, layer name at map name. Okay, so we just copy this name to our code and replace the name with the earlier one. So this is our layer. Okay, and the second parameter of query by geometry parameters is the geometry. The geometry is, we get it from the evt.feature.values.geometry. Here, let me console.log this draw result to show you, and we can comment this part of code first. Okay, now we go back to our code. When we click this button, here we can see the drawing interaction already been activated. And when we click 1, then here we can see we console.log the result of this draw, and inside of it, this is the evt.feature.values, and there is a geometry. So actually, this geometry is the same with earlier we used the get geometry from the for the measurement, which is here. Yeah, here. For this one, we use the evt.feature.get geometry. But if we go to if we directly use the .values.geometry, it's the same. And don't forget there is a symbol after the values. All right, and then this is a parameter, and of course we need to base on the map service URL to do the query, and we got the service result, and this is a callback function from the server side. After we get the feedback from server, we will go to inside of this function, and for the service result, we can first we can console.log it. Okay, first we can output it, and I mean also output. Yeah, delete that one. We can console it in the log and to take a look at the result. But this time, what we need to do is we need to query on the building. We need to draw the points inside of a building. And then here we can see we got the result. The type is process completed. And inside of it, we have the result. Then record sites. This is an array. And record sets 0. We have the features. Then the features, there is also one array and 0. And inside of it, we have the geometry. The geometry is the type of geometry is multi-polygon, and this geometry is the geometry of this building. And inside of properties, we can get all of the attributes of this building, like the attributes start from SM, means it is a system attributes, system field of Supermap. like supermap user ID, supermap ID, supermap area, supermap parameter. And others are the business ID, which is we can define it in the desktop. So this is a code, and the class, the F class of this is a building, and the name of it, we can say it is a bank, and it has a OSM ID, which is OpenStreetMap ID, and the type the type of this building is industrial. Okay, now we already get the information of it. The next one is we need to render the result in the result layer on the map. Okay, and we can see we first we need to define a feature which the class is online.format.geojson. We got it from GeoJSON, and then read features. The features is come from what I shown to you, service result record size 0, and features. Okay, so this is the features we get. And next is we need to add this feature to the layer. And in the OpenLayers 3, we won't add the feature to layer directly, but we add the feature to the source of the layer. So we use the vector source to add features, and the parameter is these features. The vector source we defined earlier, which is the vector source is a class of OpenLayers.source.vector, and this vector source has been used in the result layer, which is the OpenLayers OL.layer.vector, and we already add this layer to the map. Okay, let's take a look at our code again. When we click the button, and we can draw a point, and when we click this point on the building, we can see this building already been highlighted. Maybe it's not very clear. Let me show you with another color of building. For example, like this one. When we click on it, this building will be highlighted. That means we already get this building. We already get the information of this building. But we need to notice that after we highlighted this building, there with the interaction of the draw point still active. So and if we click on others, then we cannot get any information from it. Okay, so after that, after we draw it, we need to disable the draw point interaction. We can go back to our code, and here we can notice we use the clear draw function before we render the result. And in the clear draw function, what we need to do is we need to remove the interaction of draw point. Right? We need to remove the interaction of draw point. And also we need to clear the earlier query result. We need to clear the earlier query result, which is result layer dot get source dot clear. Okay, now let's take a look at this at our program again. When we click this button, we can draw a point, and when we draw a point on a building, then this building will be highlighted, and the draw point interaction already been disabled. And next time when we want to query another one, when we click it again, then query this building, the earlier result will be clear. The earlier result will be clear, both of draw layer and the result layer. The highlight of the building is displayed in the result layer, and this small point is displayed in the draw layer. Okay, but we can see now the highlight vector is it's not very highlighted. So we can set the style of the result there. We want to set the style of result there. Here, please allow me to refer to the earlier code. Yeah, which is here. Let me copy this code first, and then I will explain to you. So yeah, okay, now we can see this is still the define of result layer, but inside of the layer dot vector, we have a style. We define a new parameter which is style, and in the style, it is a class of ol.style.style, and here we can define the style of stock and fill. So for the stock, we set it color as red, and the width is 3. So this time when we click to query a building, then the result, the stock line, the boundary line will be in red, and the width is 3. So we can also modify it. For example, if I modify it to 5, then the boundary will be 5. Okay, but I think 3 is good. All right, so currently, after we click on this query, we already can get the result in the console.log, and we already render the geometry of this building. But next is we still want to show the attributes. There should be a pop-up of it. So next step is we need to add the pop-up to show attributes of query results. We need to add a pop-up to show the attributes of query results. For adding a pop-up, the first step is we need to define a div. We need to define a div for the pop-up. And inside of the div, there should be another one, which is pop-up content. Pop-up content. So we can go back to our HTML, because all the modification of div code, all the modification of div is in the HTML. And actually in the HTML here, I already put the div of pop-up, but I commented. So we just need to cancel the comment, and now we get the div. And the second one is we need to define a container and an overlay as a global variable to take the as a global variable to contain the div, to show the div, and later we will add the result to this overlay or container. Okay, so for this one, we can go back and here this, because the overlay and the container, they will be used in other functions. So we also define them as a global variable. Yeah, we can see here. We already defined it in the global variable. And the container, actually, it is the div itself. And it just get the element of pop-up. The content is the get element by ID for pop-up content. It is corresponding to the div we defined earlier. Okay, and next is we want to show our attributes inside of the pop-up. And yeah, there is the second one is the overlay, and this is a class defined by OpenLayers, and the element is a container, which is the container. And later we will in the code we will put the content to the content. Okay, and autopine is true. Autopine animation, the duration is 250, and the unit will be ms. The offset of the overlay is 0 and multi 20, sorry. For this overlay, we will use it later. Okay, and next, we go back here, and here, and this is the code of add the pop-up based on based on the based on the attributes. Okay, so here we can also copy them, then go back to our code. And for this one, we need to define it inside of the draw and event of draw point, because after we draw the point, we want to show the pop-up directly. And now we can say, yeah, let me explain to you the meaning of them. So first, the feature is first we need to get the feature. And earlier, this is the features, because the features is an array, and every time we will only query one building, or we only want to show the pop-up of one building. So we can just directly get the features 0, the first element inside of this array. And then the property is feature.get properties. So the feature, we can console the log the feature, and let me show you the feature and property. Yeah. For others, I will comment it first, and then when we click on the building, yeah, when we click on the building, you can see features is not defined. Oh, sorry. I made one mistake. That is, this part of code should be inside of the query or feedback function. It's not only in the drawing. It should be in the query feedback function, and it should be here. Okay, and then I will comment this part, and let's get it. Yeah, now we can see this is the feature. The features of 0. This is a feature, and in the feature there are some, we can say, inside of the values. Then the geometry is the geometry information of this polygon. We already used it before. And others, there are some value inside. There are some attributes inside of values. And also, if we console the log properties, which is come from feature.get properties. Okay, and then when we click it again, then this is the get properties. This is the get properties. That is, we get the value only from the feature. Okay, and next is we need to organize the content to show in the pop-up. And here we can start from the bottom, which is which is here, the content, and this is the HTML. This is HTML code, and inside of this HTML, actually it is a string. It is a string, and we show this. We need to organize the string to show it as a table. So first, we can say from this part. First, we need to define we need to set the table, and this is the int of table. Okay, and then there is a for loop. There is a loop, and that is we get the property inside, and the IDX will be the name of field, and the OBJ will be the value of field. Okay, the IDX is the name of IDX means every time when we draw it, it will show the result. Oh, sorry, I already deleted it. So log properties. Okay, and when we draw it here, we can say the for the each the IDX is the SM area, SM ID code F class, and the OBJ is the value of the attributes. So and in the pop-up, we don't want to show all of the information because there's the geometry or the to use it. We don't need to use it. So we set a if the IDX not equal geometry and it's not equal SM ID, SM user ID, SM area, SM parameter, perimeter, then we will add a new line inside of this table. So we can see this is the TR, the start of TR and the end of TR. Okay, and inside of the TR, we add two TD. The first TD, and the second one is I put one input here, which is the type is text and the class, the ID equals the IDX. This is the ID of this input. And then the value of the value means the default value of this input is the OBJ. Okay, now we already get the content. We get the content. And then we set the content HTML as the inner HTML of content. And after that, we need to set the overlay dot set position, and that is which position we want to add to the map. And this position should be the geometry. This position should be the feature value geometry and get the coordinates. Then map dot add overlay. That is, we need to add the overlay to the map. Okay, and let's take a look at it. ID code name type. I think something wrong with my network. You can see here, even I cannot load the base map. Let me check the code again. Here, content. Okay, that's great. And let's continue. Okay, and now we can say, we set the location, and we add this overlay. We add this overlay to the to the code, to the map. When we click on the building, we can get one table inside of the pop-up. And yeah, here earlier we already we organize this content HTML, and then we set this content HTML as the inner HTML of content. And then the content is inside of container. The container is defined by the overlay. So we don't need to define the overlay anymore. And next is we need to set the position of the overlay. The position is the coordinates of the point we draw, which is the EVT dot feature dot value dot geometry. This is the point we draw, and then get the coordinates, which means this pop-up will rely to the point we draw, and then the offset is 0 and minus 20. So actually, if we modify the offset, then it will show exactly with the point. And minus 20 means we want to move the pop-up upper to 20 px on the screen. So here, when we draw it, there will be 20 px upper on the point. Okay, now this is we already achieved the function. And but before we start the next one, we still need to achieve another one, which is clear the pop-up, right? Because here we don't have any. We cannot clear this, so we need to add clear the overlay in the clear draw function. Okay, so this will be here, map dot remove overlay, and then we choose this overlay. Because I mentioned that, and this one, the overlay dot set position undefined. That is there we clear the position of the overlay, and then we clear the position of the overlay, and then we remove the overlay from the map, and this will be in the clear draw. Okay, now let's run it again. When we click this building, we can get the attributes of this building. And when we click the clear button, all of them will be removed. Yeah, when we click it, we can get the information, and when we clear button, all of them will be removed. So we can from this button, we can achieve to query the attributes of one building on map, which is click to query. And if we didn't draw the point in the building, then there will be then nothing will be appear. But actually we have one error, which means there is no record size. That means from this point to query the building, there's no result. So I think that for you can this can be additional homework, and you can try to make a better method to deal with this kind of situation. Okay, so next, we back to the document. We already finished the function of click to query attributes. And then the second one is query the land use area by type. Query the land use area by type. For querying the land use area, we want to, I think the most suitable part to put the function is we can put it in the table, in the set type table. Okay, so the first step to achieve the first step to achieve the land use type query is we need to modify the HTML to set the HTML first. So we from the HTML code we can find the type 1, which is here. We can find the type 1, and this type 1 is the value of this. So first we can give it a new name like land use. Okay, and then it will change to land use. And inside of land use, here the example is one task, one input, and two buttons. But we don't need them. We just need the text, which should be the land use type. And here I want to add it as an option, the selector. And for the button, we only need to keep one of each. So here I will copy it from the earlier code directly, and then I will explain it to you. Okay, now we can see inside of the content, here I add one label, which is the land use type. That is, I modify the text as land use type. And then here I added one selector. And in the selector, I already defined all the options by manually input it. And of course, you can query the options from iServer and use JS code to add it. If in the future the option will be changed, then the code will be more strong. But here I just type them directly, and after the option, the div, after the selector, there is a button which is the query button, and the onClick function is the query land use. The onClick function is the query land use. So let's go back to the HTML. You can see this is the label, and then the selector, the selector, and then the query button. And for the selectors, I got it from iDesktop. Let me start up my iDesktop. Okay, and then open our data, which is industrial workspace, and inside of our building, we can we need to use land use. Yeah, and we can right click and browse attribute table, and inside there is a F class, and this is the type of land use. When we right click and click filter, then we can get a selector. Then this selector is the same. It is the same with what we want to achieve on the web. And I just type this kind of words to the code, to the HTML code. Okay, so now go back to the document, and then we need to achieve the query land use in the new JS, because the query land use function is not included by the toolbar. In order to organize our code more easier, then here we will create a new JS, which and name it inside of here create a new JS and name it as site type 1. Okay, and click create. Then in the HTML, we need to refer it. And this one is site type 1.js. Okay, this is a site type 1.js. And then in the code, the button of query, the click function is query land use. So we can go to the site type 1 JS to achieve the query land use function. And for achieving the land use function, actually it's not hard. Let me copy the code first and then show it with you. Okay, and then we can see this is very simple. The query land use, and first we need to get the value from land use type, which is the selector. We can see the selector ID is land use type. We need to get the land use type value, and then we will based on the query by SQL parameter. This is different with earlier. Earlier, we always use the query by geometry, right? So, but this one is query by SQL. And in the query by SQL parameter, we need to define the name, which is the layer of which layer we want to query. So we need to go back to the iServer and to copy the name of this layer, then post it to the name. And the attribute filter is we need to write the SQL condition here, and our condition will be F class equal the selected type. And here let me console this out the param. Okay, for example, we go back when we choose, the forest and click query, then this is the parameter of query by SQL. And we can see the query params, the attributes filter, it should be F plus equal forest, right? It should be like this. And the name is land use cadastral data. Okay, and after that, we use the query service URL, the query service, and the URL is also the map URL. And then query by SQL, the param is the query by SQL parameter, and then this is the callback function. Inside of the callback function, it's the same. We just add the results, add the features to the vector source, and the vector source is the source of result layer. Okay, now let's go back to take a look. When we choose the forest and then click query, and now we can see all of the forest area being queried, and they are highlighted in the red color. They are all highlighted in the red color. Okay, so we already achieved this function, which is query the land use area by type. And next one is we want to achieve a search function, search by input, which is input keywords to query the building. And this one is kind of complex. Let's take a look at it. So first, we need to add the div of search input and control its visibility. So before that, in the code here, we want to add a new icon, which is the search, and we use this button to control the visibility of the input text. Yeah, I think that will be easier. So we can go back to the code and And the search function is also inside of toolbar, so we don't need to use the set type.js for now. And first we need to define the search input div. And yeah, we can say we need to define an input, which is the type is keywords and the ID, and then we give it the placeholder, which is place input keywords. And this div we can add it to our code, which is here. And I will add it after the pop-up on the last of the HTML code. And here I set the style. Actually, this one is not hard, so I didn't put it in the CSS part. CSS part. So I set the style. The position is absolute, and it has top, which is 80 px. The right is 100 px, and the default display is none. The default display is none. If we don't define it, let's take a look at it first. Then here, there will be a new input. There will be an input area, okay, input text. And in order to control the display, so we can set the display as none as default. And here inside of it, we have an input, and then it is a keyword. The class is a control, and the ID, the placeholder is place input the keywords. So it's not hard to understand, right? And besides of it, we need another button to control its visibility. So in the so here in the toolbar, we can add a new button. Which the ID is search, and the onclick is the show the input. The onclick function is show input, and the icon is also the graphic icon search. And let's take a look. This button we want to use it to control the visibility of the input. Okay, so for the onclick function, it's not hard to be achieved. That is, we need to set the input, and then okay, and then we based on this to control we use this button to control the visibility of the input panel. So it's not hard to be achieved, which is we use the jQuery to set the toggle of it, the input panel .toggle. And we go back to our code. Let's take a look. When we click it, the input panel appear, and when we click it again, then it disappear, right? So this is the toggle. Okay, now after that, we need to achieve when we input anything inside of this text, then it will query all the related feature. Okay, so what we need to do is first we want to find the event of change of this keyword input. This keyword input is a div of this input div. Yeah, keyword input. Okay, and we bind it when it change. So first, okay, here I will hide them first. So first we get the value when we every time when we change it. Okay, every time when we input anything, And let's take a look at the input value and console log H. Okay, and now when we click the button, the index, the input already been shown. And when we put anything like I input A, then there will be a, right? Double A, triple A, and like the, okay, now we can say every time when we input it, we will get the change after we will get the change and get the value of it. So based on this value, we can do the query. We want to, based on this value, to do the query, to query the related building. So we need to use the query by SQL parameter again. And then the name, it should be the building, right? The building name, which is here, building layer name. And next is the attribute filter. But this time we don't use the equal anymore. We use the like. We use like. And before and after the input value, we will also add 1% symbol to, and yeah, this is the structure of SQL condition. That means before and after the input value, there is a percentage symbol. That means they will get the suitable value which contains the input value. Let me show it to you. Yeah, we console.log this param again. All right, and to go back here, when I test T, then we can take a look at the SQL condition, which is name like %T%. Okay, so it will and the percent symbol means unlimited number. And if we use the sharp, if I not remember wrong, then that means it's only one, or it means only one symbol. So we use this one to achieve the search function. Okay, and it's the same. We based on the query service and to set the URL, the parameter, and the callback of this, the callback of it. Then first we get the features. We get the features from the service result. It will be the same. And also we add this feature to the vector source, which is the result layer. Okay. And next, what we want to do is let me comment it first. And every time, so for now, what we can achieve is every time when we input one symbol, first we will clear all of the result earlier, and then we will query all of the feature which fit to this filter. Okay, and we will add it to the map. We will show it, highlight it to the map. So let's take a look. When we input T, then all of the building which name has T has been queried. For example, if this building and I want to get the information, we can say there is a T. Okay, and if I input H, then all of the building will be which contain TH will be queried. Okay, so like THE, then space SUM. Now we will get only one. But for this one, yeah, this is the THE SUM and IT USJ. So if we continue to type it, we will only get this option. But if we only show the result on the map, it will be very hard for the user to find this building, right? So here what we need to do is we need to add a new options or selector for the user. So that is to that as a prompt to show the possible result to the user. So what we need to do is first we still need to add another DIV, which is we need to add another DIV, which is the keywords options. Like this, the keywords options. All right. And the class is keyword options. We also need to set the class of it. And I will put it here. Yeah, I put it here. And and for this one, we also set it the position as absolute top right, and we give it a background color as white, and also the default display is none. Default display is none. Okay, and so after that, and also in the DIV, we can say first we use one div. The ID is keywords options, and here is a select. And the selector, the ID, I set it as keywords table. ID is keywords table. So in the toolbar, first we need to show this keywords options first. So that is every time when we input the keywords option, this one, it will be shown, right? And then we want to clear the maybe we need to clear the earlier results. Yeah. And next is we want to add the query result name to the selector. So it's like this. So it's like this. First, we need to use a for loop, and then the text is the text and value, and we will add the option. We will add the option inside of this selector. We add the option inside of the selector. For the option, the value is the SMID. The value is the SMID of this building, and the text is the name of this building. And then we append it to the keywords table after we input it. So let's take a look. If I click A, then it will query all of the feature and then it will list all of the name of building which contain A. Okay. For example, if I input the S, and now we can see this is all of the building name which contain the words we input. And also on the map, it's been highlighted. But next is I want to achieve the function when the user suggests I only input the and when the user click on it, I want the map can zoom in to the building and show the pop-up directly. So next, what we need to do is we can use the change function of keywords table. That is, every time when we select one of the option, we will go to inside of this function. Let me copy it first and then explain to you. Okay, so this is a change, and every time when the user select it, we need to clear the draw first, right? We need to clear the draw first, and then the selected ID is the value of the option. because earlier we set the value of SMID. Okay, so the select ID, and then we need to based on the ID to query again from our layer, and the attribute filter is SMID equal this ID. Okay, and then after we get the result, actually it's very easy to be understand. We just get this feature and add the result to the vector layer, and also we get the first feature and then set and we get the first feature. No need to use this sentence first, and then get the property and the content HTML, which is the totally same with earlier, right? Which is totally same with earlier. And this we don't need. And we create a content HTML and put the content inside. But there is only one difference is now last time when we set the position of overlay, we use the coordinates of the point we draw. But this time we don't have it. We don't have the draw point. So for the position, we need to first we use the feature values geometry get extent, and then we calculate the center point of this building, which means based on the extent to use extent 0 plus extent 2 divide 2, and 1 plus 3 divide 2 to get just to mini x plus max x and divide 2. Then the mean y plus max y divide 2. So we can get the coordinates of center point, and then we use map draw add overlay, and next is we need to set the view of map, because we want the map can be zoomed in to the feature we selected. So here I set a feature view, which the center is the center point of feature, and then the zoom, the projection, then map dot set view. Okay, so this part we say is long, but it's easy to be understand, right? So here, let me show you when we input the, and then when the user click on it, the map will go to will zoom to this building and show the attributes of it. When we click next one, the map will zoom to this building and show the attributes. And next, right? This and this one. So now we already achieved it. But how to clear all of this? When we use the first, we can use the clear button to clear the result on the map. And for this 2div, for the input one, we use this button to set the trigger of it. But for the options div, when we click this one, as I also want it can be hide, it can disappear. So we can go to find the show input and then set the keywords option div hide. Set the keywords option div hide. Okay, so now let's take a look at again. For example, I want to query one building, like the name is, for example, like this one, the sports lineage. Okay, so so here we can choose SPORTS. Yeah, we can see this building already been selected, already been highlighted. That and also there are some building else being selected. If I click this one, then it will go to here, and in the options we already got this support lineage, and when we click it, we can get the information of this one. And when we click the clear button, then all the feature and pop-up will be clear on the map. And when we click this search button, these two will be disappear. And when we click it again and input another one, then we can go to we can start another time of searching. All right, so this is the function we need to achieve by today, which is the input keywords to query building. And for today's code, it's kind of long. I hope that all of you can understand well of them and make it happen using your own code. It's the same. We will upload the recorded video to the YouTube, and I will upload the document, the step document of today to the Google Classroom. Okay, please let me know if there is any question. Yeah, here I saw one question which is raised by Mohammed Namus sorry, maybe I'm not sure whether I pronounce your name correct or not. The question is, can I have documentation for the library functions and their functionality? Yes, of course. So we can go to the website of iClient, which is here. Yeah, we can go to the website of the iClient, and in the open layers there are two API. The last API is the API of open layers. We can see all of the open layers functions here, and all of the like methods, the objects, the class, the method, and others, and the parameters of them. You can get them. And for the Supermap API, you can get it from this one, the documentation. And here you can get the Supermap icon for open layers API, right? You can get the open layers API from this website, and also the source code is where you can get the source code of iClient for open layers from GitHub. And as I mentioned earlier, we can also refer to the samples on the examples here, such as what we achieved is just query, right? Show the map and the geometry query, the SQL query. So you can easily get the code here, and this code will be related to Supermap. For others, like how you deal with your DIV, how you deal with your interaction, then it's up to you. So you can, and of course, you can refer to the code I wrote to complete your work. All right. Is there any question for now? Please let me know if there is any further question. Okay. If there's no any question for now, I think we can finish our training today. So later, I will send the recorded video link to our Skype group. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.